Okie dokie. So here we are in the group at nearly 6 o'clock. So we're going to do half an hour on the mat. This is going to be recorded, so we'll save it in the group and you can practice if you can't make it live. Okay, so hopefully you are organised at home, got yourself a mat or even a towel or something like that, or just lie down on your carpet. You don't really need a mat if you haven't got one, that's not the end of the world. Okay, so I'm going to say excuse the mess and the wires and all this stuff. We're not decorating dance. It might sound a bit echoey in here because there's like lack of furniture and stuff like that. So it might sound a little bit, like I'm talking down a tube. So come and lie down on your back. Yes, so come and lie down on your back. So for some of this I'll be sitting here talking and some of it I'll be doing some demonstration. So I don't like to demonstrate every move because some people will watch the demonstration and try and get into a position that they can't quite get into and end up hurting themselves. So you kind of have to listen to your body and work out what is right for you, and noticing your body and slowing down enough to observe that, to notice that. And you can only really notice what's going on in your body when you do take things slowly and take it carefully. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to begin. I'm a bit early. I'm spot on 6 o'clock now. So on your back and bend your knees. Quite a nice place to start. On your back and bending your knees. That's nice. And it's quite a nice place to be. If you've had a hard day at work and you've been rushing around, sorting everything out, sorting everybody else out, it's quite nice to lie down and find that space for yourself and for your body and to check in with yourself. And that's what we're going to be doing for the first couple of minutes, is just checking in with ourselves. Yeah? I've got mad hair. So notice your feet as your knees are bent. You've got a distance between your knees and between your ankles. So notice how your feet are contacting the floor. How are you organising your feet right now? How are you organising the position of your pelvis? Is there one side that's heavier than the other? I notice I feel more weight on my right side than my left side. And we're going to move it around in a minute. So how do you rest on your spine? Can you notice where your spine is resting, where it's touching the floor, where it isn't? Where are the gaps? Where does the spine feel light and where does it feel heavy? Some of us have got a posture where the lower back is closer to the floor, and some of us have a posture where the lower back goes in and is a bigger curve. So notice the curve of your neck. There's an inward curve as well. The lower back and the neck have inward curves. So you should be able to get your hand underneath your neck without you having to move your head. And notice your chin, your jaw, is your jaw relaxed? And then push your feet down into the floor and allow your lower back to flatten. And then release the pressure in your feet and allow the lower back to arch. So press your feet into the mat, let your lower back flatten, and then release that so your lower back arches. So that's all you're doing to start with, is just noticing how your lower back loses the curve and increases the curve with your feet pressing into the floor. And notice how far up your back that movement goes. You might notice it in your ribs. You might even notice it in your head. So let's see if we can get the movement to go all the way up into your neck. It's quite a nice way to free up any tension in your neck. So push your feet down, your back will flatten and your chin will probably lift. So then if you release the pressure in your feet, your back arches and your chin will probably drop down towards your chest. Pushing your feet down, the chin lifts, releasing the feet, the chin drops. It's as if the pubic bone and the chin are following in the same direction. So that's how you're starting, is just bending your knees, pressing your feet into the floor, pressing the feet down, the lower back flattens, releasing the pressure in your feet and your lower back arches. And it's just that rocking in your lower back, and notice that rocking all the way up into your head, in your neck. Press your feet, lower back flattens, chin lifts, release your feet, lower back arches, chin drops. So you just get that movement, quite nice, to release the lower back. Or notice if there's one side of your lower back you tend to have more weight on, if you tend to favour one side, if you've got a bias, you just might not realise that you have that, and just noticing it, because that will affect how you sit, how you stand, how you walk, and it will affect your connection to your core as well. It's all very well saying you're going to work your core, but if your core's not working effectively because your back's too tight or your neck's too tight, you could be doing loads of core stuff and just not noticing any difference. So you lower your back, get rid of your tight lower back first, focus on that. Okay, so we're going to cross the right leg over your left leg, so the knees are touching, and the knees are going to drop to the right side, and then you're going to bring your knees back to the middle, and you're going to breathe out as you do that. Breathe out as you go, breathe in as you come back. So your arms can be away from the body, have your palms facing the ceiling. It's nice to have the palms facing the ceiling, so the top of the arms, notice the floor a little bit more to help release any tension in the front of the body, in your collarbone. So as you let the knees drop, you'll notice the weight of the legs will also be pulling the opposite pelvis off the floor, and you'll be rolling off the ribs as well. Okay, come back to the middle, uncross the legs, change legs, go over to the other side, breathe out, breathe in as you come back, breathe out as you go, and breathe in as you come back. So just noticing that movement in the ribs, in your spine, letting your shoulder blades feel heavy, letting your arms rest back. A lot of us are spending a lot of time looking at screens since the pandemic, since COVID changed our lives in March. So you might notice that your arms might roll off the floor a little bit. And that's just tightness in the chest, which tends to pull the arms forward, and a little bit of weakness in the mid-back. If your shoulders are hurting, that's probably why. Come back and uncross the legs. Okay, so come back to noticing the lower back flattening and arching as it drops to the floor and arches, and find what feels like halfway between those two. And if you find that it's difficult to keep your chin down towards your throat, you might need a rolled up towel or a little pad underneath your head. So pick up one foot and then pick up the other foot. Put one foot down, put one foot down. Pick up one foot, pick up the other foot, put one foot down, put one foot down. And you're just going to carry on with that little sequence, picking up, putting down, without the lower back changing position. So you keep the little gap underneath your lower back, and you keep the gap behind the neck. Just check that your chin doesn't start to drift upwards, so your chin stays down towards your throat. So you're not tempted to tighten up the neck in order to stabilise what's happening with your spine. Because if your core muscles aren't working as well as they should, your neck will start to try and tighten up to compensate. So if you've got a tight neck and you haven't got any you're trying to release it and it doesn't really work, then just check what's happening with your breathing and what's happening with your pelvis and your core. There's lots going on. So we're going to keep one leg up there, and you're just going to lift your head, take your hands down towards the floor and look to the horizon, and then come back down. So your palms are going to face the floor as you lift your head, reach for the bottom of the mat, and then come back down. So breathe out as you lift and look. Breathe in as you come back down. Last one, and we'll change legs. So let that leg come back down, changing legs. Now as you breathe out, you lift the head, look to the horizon, and turn the palms down. Breathe in as you come back. Breathe out as you lift. Breathe in as you come back down. Breathe out as you lift. Breathe in as you come back down, relax your face. 2 more. Last one. Now you're going to hug that knee in. So this is my left knee with my left hand. My right hand's going behind the head. So we're going to work on the oblique muscles which run from your ribs to the opposite side of your pelvis. They help you turn to look behind you, they help you rotate. So if you lift and twist, so your right shoulder goes towards your left knee, and then you come back to the floor. So try not to pull your knee in towards you, keep the knee where it is, but lift the shoulder and twist towards your knee, and then come back to the floor. So think about your right rib cage, think about right rib cage going to the left side of your pelvis. So your pelvis stays nice and still, relax your toes, and relax your jaw. So when you lift, you're going to hold it up there now, hold it here, so you feel the weight on the left side of your ribs. Come down slowly for 3, 2, 1, lift and twist. Come down slowly, 3, 2, 1, lift and twist. Come down slowly, 3, 2, rest. Release that leg. Hug your right knee in, put the left hand behind the head. Lift and twist. Come down slowly, 3, 2, 1, lift and twist. And slowly release. So your knee's not coming towards you, you're going towards your knee. And as you lift and twist, you'll feel heavier on that right side, on that right shoulder blade, and the right side of your ribs. And you're looking towards the outside of your knee. It's nice, yeah? Allegedly. So you're going to keep that knee there, but swap your hands over. So my right hand's going behind my head, holding the knee in with my left hand. You're going to go straight up, so your nose goes towards your knee. So I want you to imagine there's a little ladybird walking around on your knee, and every time you lift, your nose is going somewhere different on your knee if it's trying to touch the ladybird. So imagine that ladybird's wandering around, so every time you lift, you're trying to touch the ladybird on a different part of your knee. So sometimes it'll be on the inside of the knee, sometimes at the top, sometimes on the outside of the knee, sometimes lower down the thigh. So it's working different parts of the abdominals. And then release that leg, pick up the other leg, change your hand, so your right hand is holding your left knee, left hand behind the head, you're going straight up. And think about that nose following the ladybird around your knee. So every time you lift, it's a different part of your knee you're going towards. So don't rush it, because you'll be holding your breath and clenching your jaw. Check you're not squeezing your glutes so your pelvis is relaxed. Check you're not pulling your knee in. 2 more. Follow that ladybird. Where is it going? And then put your foot down and roll over onto, I'm going to roll over onto my left side. Just support my head and bend my knees. I'm going to pick up my feet and keep the knees together as the top foot lifts and lowers. So breathe in as you lift your top foot and breathe out as it comes back down. Knees stay together and the femur rolls inwards. Working on the outside of your pelvis, the little glutes, glute medius and glute minimus, which help support your pelvis as you walk. Last one. And then stretch your top leg out and bring it forward a little bit. So your knees are in line with each other. So it's not too far forwards and it's not all the way back, but it's about quarter of the way. So going towards the corner of the room maybe, and then lift and lower the leg from there. Last one. And then bring the leg back so it's in line straight with your armpit and your hip, and lift and lower from there. If you need your balance, hand on the floor. If you don't, take your hand up to the ceiling. And then hold it halfway, kick it forwards, push through your heel, point your toes to take the leg back behind you. Push through the heel, kick forwards, point your toes, take it back. So you're swinging the leg from your armpit. Breathe in as you come forward, breathe out, take the leg back. Last one. See if you can bend the knee and grab your foot. And let the knee come down. And can you bring the heel back towards your sit bones and squeeze your glutes to allow that top hip to press forward. Relax your top shoulder. Push your foot into your hand as if you're trying to straighten your leg. Stop pushing your foot into your hand and bring the heel closer. Squeeze your glutes and then let go of your leg. So roll over onto your back, bend your knees, And the leg we've just worked, the right leg, push that into the floor. So both feet are pushing into the floor, but push into your right foot a lot more and come up into a bridge. And then come back down. And then roll yourself back up. So push into the floor more on the right foot. And you'll notice if you have more pressure on the right foot as you come up, if you're going slowly enough and with more awareness and being curious about what's going on, you'll be more aware of the weight heavier on your opposite shoulder. So you're connecting the line of fascia on your back that joins your shoulder across your back to your glute. And sometimes there's a disconnect along here, which can affect how you walk and maybe can affect issues in your shoulder blade and in the opposite glute. Last one. And then as you come down, roll yourself over onto the other side. So you're resting on your side. Pick up your feet, your knees are bent. Keep the knees together and let the top foot lift and lower. So the femur rolls in and then comes back. And notice if one hip feels a bit different to the other, if there's more movement. So I'll have less range on this side than I do on the other. And then relax your feet, stretch that leg out, bring it forward a little bit and lift and lower from there. So it's in line with the corner of my room at the moment. It's not too far forward. I'm working on these little glutes here that get weak in quite a lot of us. And then bring it back, so straight in line with your armpit and your hip and lift and lower from there. I'm still working on the outside of my hip here, so stabilising my pelvis, thinking about that leg staying long, and then pushing through my heel, kicking forwards, pointing the toes, taking the leg back. Breathing in, point the toes, take it back. And then I'm going to hold onto my foot, bending the knee, bring the heel towards the sit bone. Squeeze the glutes, and if you squeeze the glute a tiny amount, it will push the hip forwards, relax your shoulder, push the foot into the hand, so you're trying to straighten the leg. Breathe in, stop pushing, and bring your heel closer. And notice if you're feeling a stretch in the front of your quads, anywhere from the knee to the hip. And then let go. And then come over onto your front, and come up onto your hands, onto your hands, on your forearms. So as if you're pushing the floor away with your hands. So notice the legs resting here and the front of your feet resting. And notice where your lower belly is touching the floor. Your pubic bone will be on the floor, your lower belly, your ribs will be off the mat. So just breathe into your lower belly. So notice as you breathe in, as if you're pushing or expanding the lower belly forwards. And you're just breathing out normally. So you're not pulling the belly in as you breathe out. So there's none of this zipping up or tightening up. And notice if you do that, if you breathe out and pull your belly in, you tend to squeeze the glutes and it tends to tighten up the diaphragm, which creates tightness in your lower back and issues in your shoulders. So it's more about an expansion and a width of the belly as you breathe in. And the exhalation just happens. So if you find your lower back starts to ache a little bit, tuck under a little bit with your tailbone so more of your pubic bone touches the mat. Yeah. Okay, so from here you're going to bend one knee and you're going to do 3 little kicks with your heel towards your glute and then put the leg down, change sides. So it's not about how fast you're going and trying to get the exercise over and done with. You're noticing how stable you can be in your spine and in your pelvis. And the tracking of the leg, checking that it's in line with everything else with your sit bone. It's not out to the side, it's not in the middle, and not out to the other, in the inside, it's in the middle tracking. But also, more importantly, is I want you to imagine that I'm in the room with you and my hand is between your shoulder blades. Can you lift your heart up into my hand? So when you notice when you do that, as soon as you feel that you're lifting your heart up into my hand, the front of your ribs lifts up and you get that connection with the abdominals and with your shoulder muscles. The area underneath your shoulder, there's muscles there that keep your shoulder blades level on your ribs, so they don't lift off the rib cage. Okay, last one on each side. See, I'm not rushing it, I'm just being aware of what's going on in my body. Okay, so come down and rest your forehead on your hands and breathe into your lower belly. Okay, so you're going to bring your elbows down, so they're going to be bent by the side. And then where your elbows are, lift them and let your hands slide back to where your elbows were resting. And look over your right shoulder. So as you press your hand into the floor, you look over your shoulder, and you start to lift the right side of your body off the floor. So your right arm starts to straighten a little bit. Come back down, look over your left shoulder. Come back down, look over your right shoulder. Come back down, look over your left shoulder. The last one on each side. And then come back down and push yourself back into child's pose. Toes together, knees apart. Now in your child's pose, if your head doesn't touch the floor, put your hand underneath your head or a cushion and let your chest bone lengthen towards the front of your mat. So you get this length in your mid-back. Also feel that your sit bones are going towards your heels as your chest bone comes forward. And then roll yourself up, bring the feet around to the front of your mat and come and sit. So if you find it tricky sitting cross-legged, you can change that position to have your feet here, like this, or you can sit on a chair and take your legs out in front of you. But however you can sit, try and be on your sit bones and you're not tucking under and sitting on your tailbone. One thing you could do is get a couple of towels or blankets and put them underneath your sit bones and sit on them. I'll show you how that works. That blanket. If I sit on the front of the blanket, tilt the pelvis, actually be in a better seated position, like that. So you're not tucking under. So if your lower back is quite flat, you probably will need something like that to sit on. Put your hands together, put your thumbs on your chest bone and turn to one side as you breathe in. Come back as you breathe out, breathe into the other side. So as you twist, you will notice your sit bones on the floor. Try not to shift your sit bones. So your sit bones stay equal right and left. So you're not leaning over onto one side. And then as you turn, let the head go in the opposite direction. So head goes one way. Your thoracic spine, which starts from the base of the neck and goes to the top of your pelvis, goes in the opposite direction. Last one on each side. And then come back to the middle and come off the top of the blanket, the towel, and bring your feet out in front of you. Bring the feet and the knees together and put the hands underneath your knees and pull yourself up into a tall seated position, and then start to tuck under away from the legs and then pull yourself back up. And then roll yourself back away from the legs and then pull yourself back up. And then roll yourself back away from the legs and pull yourself back up. So let your pelvis start the movement, tucking under as if the navel is being pulled through to the floor, and then pulling yourself back up. So you go back to where the arms are long, and then you come back up. And if you feel okay, you can take away the hands. And if you feel you want to link the hands, you could do that. And as you come up, you can take the arms up to the ceiling to create that length in your spine. But if that's too much for for your back, then keep your hands underneath your knees as you roll away from the legs and come back up. Last one. And then roll yourself back down to the floor. I'm going to turn around. Come back to lying on your mat. Bend the knees. Take your knees over to one side, or a gap between the knees and the feet. So drop them over to one side and let the arm, so my knees are to the left, so my right arm reaches down by my side. Could you have your hand reaching for your foot? And can you slide down that side to reach for your heel of the toes? And you'll notice your head will come with you, and the other arm can go out to the side. You can go up if you want to towards the diagonal. And then come back, and then slide again to touch your foot. Or reaching in the direction of your foot. If you can't get that far, that's okay. If your foot's down there, maybe you can't reach, that's okay. You're going in that direction, so this side shortens. And then you come back up, bring the knees back to the middle, take them over to the other side, take this arm out, and reach this arm down towards your foot, and then come back. Reach down towards your foot, and come back. Reach down towards your foot, and come back. So you're shortening on one side of your back, and lengthening on the other side. You're also shortening on one side of the neck, and lengthening on the other side, with the knees over on one side. And then come back to the middle, bring the feet and the knees back, put one foot over onto the opposite knee, and just let that foot draw a circle, and then let it go back in the opposite direction. And then see if you can reach down and grab that foot and that knee. And just massage your foot. Can you get in there and massage the sole of your foot? Can you massage your toes? Can you get your fingers in between your toes? Create some space in between your toes. Maybe you could do a little bit of a gentle pulling of your toes whilst you're there. Just a little gentle lengthening of your toes. And then I've got my left foot up, so I'm going to hold my left foot with my left hand and see if I can take my foot towards the ceiling and just bring the knee towards me now, and the hand on the outside of the leg. So knee on the outside of your elbow and now on the inside of the elbow. So it's just going from side to side. And if I find that tricky, you can put the other hand behind your head and lift the head to look towards the foot. Relax the jaw and then come back down. Let the leg go. Pick the other foot up, put it on the knee. So you can grab hold of your foot. You can slide. I've got my right foot up, so my left foot is sliding in. See if you can grab your foot, give it a massage, and see if you can gently lengthen your toes one by one. Finding some length in your toes. It's quite nice. Find some length, and maybe you might find some creaking and cracking going on in your toes. You can also feel as you lengthen your toes how that feels in the midfoot, maybe in the side of your foot as well. You might feel some movement. Especially if you've got bunions or you've got quite a high knuckle in one of your feet. And then see if you can grab that foot and grab your knee. And see, same hand holding onto the foot. And this hand can go behind the head, and you can lift your head if you find it tricky to do this. So take the leg up to the ceiling. It doesn't have to be a straight leg, but you're just going in that direction. So the knee's on the outside of my elbow, now it's on the inside. On the outside of the elbow, and now on the inside. So you can lift your head or keep it down. Outside of the elbow, inside. Outside of the elbow, inside. And there'll be a difference from your right to your left. And then let it go. Take the feet wide, drop one knee in, and then change sides. As you drop one knee in, notice you rolling on the inside edge of your foot, coming back, changing feet. And then just rest. Take the legs out long and rest here. And notice your breath as you rest, breathing into your lower belly Breathing into your ribs. Just resting. And then when you feel ready, bend in your knees and roll yourself over onto one side and use your hands to gently push yourself up. Lovely, thank you for joining me this evening. So we'll save the session for the group if you want to practice at a time that is much better and more suitable for you. Any questions, please comment below or send me a message. Happy to help you answer your questions. Take care. Bye.